Hello and welcome back to another video on the saints. Now in today's video we'll be doing a little bit more of an unorthodox version of my saintly videos I typically do. Typically I use AI and I try to animate the stories, but today we're going to do this straight from this beautiful relic, and I'm going to do this month by month. So we're going to start out with the month of June. And I want to give you first a little bit of history about this relic here. I'm actually going to turn the video around. I wanted to get a shot of it up here from the top down so you can see the whole relic. But I'm going to pause this video and we'll come back and we'll make this a regular size so you can view this in your window a lot better. Okay, so here we go. I got it turned back around here and we're looking directly at June here so you can see June. All right, so the history of this relic. This is a really interesting relic. It's called a calendar of saints. Now, this is typically done by setting it up by the day and by the month. So typically every day there's a calendar of saints, and every single day you would have, depending on the month and the day, the patron saint of the day. But this relic is unique in that when it was created, it is not matching up to the saints of the day. Instead, there are different saints that are chosen for each month and each day. And I think this was a custom order that was put together. Now, the history of this relic is that I found this in Malta, on the island of Malta, the country of Malta. And this was something that was online about, let's see here, last October. So October of 2024. In October of 2024, I happened to see this online, and it was up for sale. I was like, oh my gosh, that was an absolutely gorgeous relic. I was like, I need to rescue this relic. As soon as I saw it, I thought, I need to rescue this. I need to make sure that people are not able to take this beautiful relic with all these beautiful saints and use them or abuse them in ways that would not be proper, right? So we don't want this to fall into the hands of a Satanist or a coven or witches or even non-Catholic Christians. Protestants tend to destroy relics when they get the opportunity. So this is something that I do my best to make sure that it doesn't fall into those hands and that these saints are protected and they're taken care of. So I reached out to this person and I asked them, what the history was of this relic. So they told me this beautiful story that in the 1980s, this relic was originally owned by the Maltese royal family. So this was put together for the Maltese royal family probably 100 years ago. I would say this is dated most likely into the late 1800s, early 1900s. I believe that was probably when this was put together. And it was a custom order, so it was customly done by a monastery or directly out of the Vatican to create such a beautiful piece for the Maltese royal family. For whatever reason, they chose the saints for whatever purpose they set this relic up for. Maybe this was all the patron saints of their family, of their lineage, of the royal family, etc. I'm not sure. I don't know that full story. But what I do know is that the person that took care of this said that in the 1980s, this was given by the Maltese royal family to a priest in Malta who was friends with the family, who was a parish priest. And he put this relic into his private chapel at his house, at his home, his rectory, where it stayed until 2023. Actually, I think that was more of 2022. So 2022, no, it would be 2023. So 2023, and that was when he passed away. So he died, and this person, whose name was Frankie went to this estate sale over in Malta, and she met the brother of this priest who was still alive. I believe she said he was 84 or 85. And he told her the story about the Maltese royal family and how his brother, the priest, had gotten this relic, how he attained this relic, and the history of it and where it was. And so she actually bought it from the estate sale. She brought it home. She had it in her home for a year. And then she decided, you know what, I'm going to put this up for sale. So that's where I come in. That's where I found this relic. And after speaking with her for quite a bit, we went back and forth for about 2 to 3 weeks. I was able to rescue the relic, and she sent it to me from Malta in October of 2024. And so this relic has been used in many different healing services. I've allowed priests to borrow it. It has done amazing things, and these are truly beautiful saints. However, there is something that I do have to tell you that I was concerned about. One of the reasons why I got this relic is that it had been opened. So the seals are broken on the back. So the wax seals are broken, the threads are broken. So this would be considered an invalid relic. So it cannot be displayed publicly. It does not have paperwork, and it would have to be re-verified by someone like, I believe the only person in the United States that could do this would be Father Carlos Martins. So Father Carlo Martins, he could verify this relic, he could reseal it, and then he could create paperwork for it. And that would be something definitely I'd be interested in seeing if he could do. But he's an extremely busy man. So for the time being, this relic resides in my relic possession that I have of all the other rescued relics that I've gotten. And in today's video, like I said, we're going to address the beautiful saints here in June. So let me see if I can adjust this a little bit better. Well, I think we got all of June here, but I'm just going to turn this camera around just a little bit. And we'll talk about these beautiful saints. Okay, so what I did was when I got this relic, I had it sitting on my desk. And oh my goodness, what a major task it was. I had a magnifying glass that I originally was using, and I was holding the magnifying glass up to this glass here. You can see right here. I was holding up to the glass, and I was trying to read off the saints. And then I created a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet. And I started putting this together, and I would look up the name, I type it in, and the sheet became bigger and bigger and bigger, and more columns were created. So basically the way that I created this in the sheet, and let me see if I can pause this, I'll lift it up, and I'll show you what I put together. Okay, so you can see here, give you an idea of what I did with the Google sheet, the Google spreadsheet, is I put the name of the saint, if they were a martyr, virgin martyr, what type of position they held in life, if they were laity, the year that they died, what they did, what their patron saint is, so what their patronage is of, if they were incorruptible, yes or no, the month, the day, and then I included links to websites that people could click on. So if anyone wanted to research this, I would have a document already created. So this is why I put this together. And it was really a lot of work. It was a ton of work. So eventually what I did is I ended up, and this is actually what I use right now as the light, is I have a magnifying glass on an arm that I have connected to my desk here. And I use this for the light, so I have light right here. You can see a shadow with my hand. And I have light, and I use this for most of my relic videos. And I used it for researching this. So it took me about 2 months to go through all the names, which in this reliquary, there are 389 relics. So we have all the saints of the month, and then we have, it says like 365 for all the days of the year. And then there's additional relics. So in the middle of it here, you have different relics, and we'll go over that in another video. But today, like I said, we're going to stick to June, and we'll get going here. So on this reliquary, again, this does not match the saints of the day based upon our Catholic calendar. I also checked on the Orthodox calendar to see if this was the calendar that they used. It was not. Okay, so for June 1st here on this one, so June 1st right over in here, I think it's right there. Okay, June 1st is Saint Petronilla. She was a virgin. She died in the year 100 AD. She was laity. She was St. Peter's daughter, and Peter healed her of palsy. She's the patron saint of fever, people with fever, and of travelers. She's not incorrupt, and again, this is on June 1st. June 2nd is Saint Erasmus, also known as Saint Elmo. He was a martyr. He died in 303 AD. He was a bishop. He was disemboweled slowly by having a windlass unwind his intestines. Oh my gosh, I'm grabbing my intestines right now. Oh, that would be so painful. He is the patron saint of sick cattle, cramps, and colic in children. Not incorruptible. June 3rd is St. Claudius, martyr. Died in the year 283. He was a soldier. Martyred alongside his family and a group of 70 soldier converts. And his wife is St. Hilary, patron saint of people with deep faith and courage, not incorruptible. June 4th is St. Francis Caracciolo. I'm gonna slaughter a few of these names here, so forgive me. Died in 1608, founder. Incorrupt hearts with these words on it. Okay, so when they opened up his body afterwards, when they exhumed his body, they found his heart was incorrupt, and these words were written on it. The zeal of thy house hath consumed me. Patron saint of Italian cooks, and he's incorrupt. And that's on June 4th. So June 5th is Saint Cyriacus, martyr, died in 303 AD, deacon, nobleman, converted and helped slaves, beheaded, and he exorcised both Diocletian's daughter and the Persian king Shapur II. He exorcised both of their daughters. He ended up being beheaded by, it wasn't Diocletian. Diocletian let him go. It was the following pope, and I cannot remember his name. He's patron saint of exorcists and against temptations on the deathbed, not incorruptible. The next is June 6th. That is Saint Justin, also called Justin the Philosopher, martyr, died in 165 AD, laity, young philosopher of Platonism, converted to Christianity in Ephesus. He was beheaded. Patron saint of philosophers and thinkers. June 7th is Saint Jeremias, martyr, 309 AD, laity, ministered to Christian slaves in copper mines in Sicilia, tortured and beheaded, not incorrupt. June 8th is Saint Calliope, I believe Calliope, virgin martyr, died in 250 AD. Laity, refused to marry a pagan, was flogged in public, salt poured in wounds, beheaded and branded. Patron saint of purity, love of God, the strength of faith. June 9th, Saint Felician of Foligno, martyr, 250 AD. Bishop, arrested at 94 years old, refused to worship pagan gods, tortured and flogged, died of his wounds. Non-incorrupt. June 11th, Saint Margaret of Scotland, died in 1093 AD. Queen, mother of 4 kings of Scotland. Pious, charitable, helper of the poor, and she died of grief. Not incorrupt. June 11th, Saint Barnabas, martyr, died in 60 AD. Apostle, preaching in synagogue, dragged out by Jews, stoned to death, burned alive. Patron saint against drought. Next is Saint Joan of FAC. Now, I did not have this. I did not look it up at the time. I need to relook at the relics now, especially since I use AI on a lot of my research. So that's one that I did not have information on. The next one is St. Anthony of Padua. Died in the year 1231 AD. Priest, entered monastery at 15 years old. Great miracle worker, loved the Eucharist, animals, and preaching. Patron saint of miracles, lost items, poverty, and the disabled, not incorrupt. June 14th is St. Basil the Great, died in 379 AD. Bishop and doctor, founded monastic rule of life, built houses for the poor. He was part of the Council of Nicaea, and he wrote extensively. He is patron saint of hospital admin, sick, and the poor, not incorrupt. June 15th is St. Vitus, martyr, 303 AD. Laity, 12 years old when he was martyred. He's one of the 14 holy helpers. He is against lightning strikes and animal attacks, not incorrupt. Now, here's something about St. Vitus. St. Vitus means life, vita, life. Exorcists specifically like to use St. Vitus in exorcisms. He's very powerful in exorcisms. And the reason being is, like, if the demon identifies itself as death, the opposite of the demon would be St. Vitus, life. He's very powerful in exorcism. So that's an interesting one for those that are in the spiritual warfare field. The next is Blessed Francis Patrizzi, died in 1328, priest, received in the services by Saint Philip Beninzi himself. 40 years after the death, 5 lilies came from his mouth. That's really interesting. So 40 years after he died, 5 lilies bloomed out of his mouth. And he is incorrupt. That was June 16th. June 17th. I'm sorry, that was June 16th. Okay, June 17th is Saint Innocent, martyr, died in the 2nd century. Laity, 8 years old when he was killed. He was buried in the catacombs of Saint Callistus for several centuries. The next is Saint Leontius, martyr, 79 AD, soldier. He converted many soldiers to Christ, refused to worship pagan idols, hung with a giant stone around his neck. So that's how he was hung. Imagine that. Refused to worship pagan idols. And he was hung with a giant stone around his neck. Awful. So he's the patron saint of Syria. The next one I couldn't identify. I'll have to take a look at that one and see who it was. That would have been for June 19th. So for June 20th is Saint Silverius, martyr, died in 537 AD. Pope, was pope for 1 year. He was accused of treachery by an enemy. He was exiled and starved to death. Awful. Next is Saint Aloysius Gonzaga. He died in 1591 AD. He was a Jesuit brother. And let's see here. He was from a noble family. He gave up inheritance to join the Jesuits. He loved the poor, the sick, and plague victims. He's the patron of sick, AIDS victims, blind, and seminarians. Beautiful. Okay, the next is Saint Paulinus of Nola. Okay, Saint Paulinus of Nola. And he died in 431 AD. He was a bishop. The governor, he was originally the governor of Campania. He converted, he introduced bells to Christian worship. Isn't that beautiful? And he wrote St. Jerome a lot. And for those that know, St. Jerome was the one who also was responsible for writing the first Bible, putting the first Bible together, which was the Latin Vulgate. I believe that was released in 404 AD. Okay, so he wrote St. Jerome a lot. They were friends. He's a patron saint of poets and writing. Next is St. Zeno of Nicomedia. He was a martyr. He died in 302 AD. He was a soldier. 20,000 Catholics were burned alive on December 25th in a church. And then he made fun of the emperor. So the emperor killed 20,000 Catholics on December 25th in a church. He burned them alive on Christmas Day in the year 302 AD. And St. Zeno made fun of the emperor after this happened, and he was beheaded. Amazing. So he was a Christian, converted, and was beheaded by the emperor for making fun of him after he burned all those people alive. Horrible. Saint Firminus of Amiens, martyr, died in 303 AD. He was a bishop. He converted many. He baptized thousands and was martyred for his faith in the city of Amiens. Saint Gallicanus of Ostia. He was a martyr. He died in 363 AD. He was a Roman consulate. He was converted by the disciples of Saint John and Saint Paul. He built a hospital with Saint Hilarianus, and he was martyred. Sick. He's patron of sick, dying, and the poor. Okay, the next is Saints John and Paul, martyrs. They were brothers. They died in 362 AD. They were soldiers. They were both officers in the army under Julian the Apostate. They converted to Christianity and they were beheaded. The next is Saint Lucina of the Catacombs. She was a martyr. Died in 70 AD. Laity. Converted by Saint Peter the Apostle. Buried the martyrs in catacombs and was martyred herself. June 28th, Saint Gregory Barbarigo. Died in 1693. He was a bishop. Canon lawyer, loved the poor, gave to the poor his own clothes, and he fed the poor in his own home. He's the patron saint of the sick, charity, poor, and he was also an incorruptible. So yes, he was incorrupt. Beautiful. June 28th. June 29th would be St. Peter the Apostle. Martyr. Died in 68 AD. He was an apostle, chosen by Jesus to lead his church. First of the apostles, died upside down on a cross. Patron saint of Pope, fisherman, shipbuilder, and clergy. Now today is June 29th. And today is actually the feast day of Saint Peter. So beautiful. Okay, and then the last one here, June 30th, is Saint Juliana Falconeri. Virgin, died in 1341 AD, founder. She founded the Servite nuns. Her uncle founded the Servites. Isn't that beautiful? She was a mystic. She worked many miracles, and she also had many ecstasies. She's the patron saint of those with bodily ills, sick people, and sicknesses. And yes, she was definitely incorrupt. So this will cover it for the month of June, and I'll do another video for each of the months that are going on here. More beautiful saints to see. You can see right here we have May, okay, and then July. So May and July. These are relics from our Lord. We have the true cross right here. You'll see it coming up in future videos. But just wanted to share this with you. It's such a beautiful relic. It's a gorgeous relic. So many amazing saints. And I'm so happy I was able to rescue this. And it's now being taken care of and in a safe place. So thank you for watching this. Be sure to come back and watch the next video that we release. And I'll share more relics of the saints. But this one has a ton. So typically I share a relic of what I'm going to do next or in the future. And I think this will give you an idea that we have lots more to share and many more saints to go over. So just remember, Jesus is Lord, Mary is our mother, and the saints are our dear friends. Stay close to God, and you will find your way to heaven. God bless.